Hello, welcome back. It's Friday and weekends. This long time ago I have read on Wikipedia. I like to try finish the Roman Empire. I like to get back to my aircraft and aviation and deserts project. So let's try finish my Roman Empire, but it's early. It's only like 8 a.m. But then I have a whole long day. This is like about 25 pages. So I will just go back to my bed reading this. Put the auto reading, but I read the text same time the auto reading. I'm not laying and sleeping. I follow the text with my eyes. When the computer's reading, I read myself. I'm not lay sleeping or something like that. I follow the text with my mouse and my eyes. Read loud to the end of documents.
Western Roman Empire. This is a good article. Click here for more information. Western Roman Empire Senatus Populus Crominus Imperium Romanuma 395476/480b Flag of Western Roman Empire. Labarum. The usual type E according to points. Cairo of Western Roman Empire. Cairo, the Western Roman Empire in 418 AD, following the abandonment of Britannia and the settlement of the Visigoths, Burgundians, and Suebi within imperial territory as foederati. The Western Roman Empire in 418 AD following the abandonment of Britannia and the settlement of the Visigoths, Burgundians, and Suebi within imperial territory as foederati status Western administrative division of the Roman Empire ea capital Mediolanum. 395 401, 1. Ravenna, 401 403, 408 450,000 457 461, 475 476. The term Western Roman Empire is used in modern historiography to refer to the western provinces of the Roman Empire, collectively, during any period in which they were administered separately from the eastern provinces by a separate, independent imperial court, and particularly during the period from 395 to 476, in which there were separate, coequal courts dividing the governance of the empire in the western provinces from that of the eastern provinces, with a distinct imperial succession in these separate courts. The terms Western Roman Empire and Eastern Roman Empire were coined in modern times to describe political entities that were de facto independent. Contemporary Romans did not consider the empire to have been split into two empires but viewed it as a single polity governed by two imperial courts as an administrative expediency. The Western Roman Empire collapsed in 476 and the Western Imperial Court in Ravenna was formally dissolved by Justinian in 554. The Eastern Imperial Court lasted until 1453. Though the empire had seen periods with more than one emperor ruling jointly before, the view that it was impossible for a single emperor to govern the entire empire was institutionalized with reforms to Roman law by Emperor Diocletian following the disastrous civil wars and disintegrations of the crisis of the 3rd century. He introduced the system of the Tetrarchy in 286, with two senior emperors titled Augustus, one in the east and one in the west, each with an appointed Caesar, junior emperor and designated successor. Though the Tetrarchic system would collapse in a matter of years, the East-West administrative division would endure in one form or another over the coming centuries. As such, the Western Roman Empire would exist intermittently in several periods between the 3rd and 5th centuries. Some emperors, such as Constantine I and Theodosius I, governed as the sole Augustus across the Roman Empire. On the death of Theodosius I in 395, he divided the empire between his two sons, with Honorius as his successor in the west governing briefly from Mediolanum and then from Ravenna, and Arcadius as his successor in the east governing from Constantinople. Rome, 403, 408, 450, 457,461, 475, 2. Salina /Spalatum, 475, 480. Common languages Latin, official, regional /local languages religionis any Christianitae demonym, s. Roman government autocracy Roman Emperor 395 423 Honorius 457 461 Majorian 474 480 Julius Nepos 475 476 Romulus Augustulus Legislature Roman Senate Historical Era Late Antiquity Death of Emperor Theodosius I 17 January 395 Deposition of Emperor Romulus 4 September 476 Murder of Julius Nepos 9 May 480 Area 395, 3, 2,000,000 kilometer 2, 770,000 square mi, currency Roman. Currency. In 476, after the Battle of Ravenna, the Roman army in Thuist suffered defeat at the hands of Odoacer and his Germanic foe Odoarti. Odoacer forced the deposition of Theopora, Romulus Augustulus, and became the first king of Italy. In 480, following the assassination of the previous Western Emperor Julius Nepos, the Eastern Emperor Zeno dissolved the Western court and proclaimed himself the sole emperor of the Roman Empire. The date of 476 was popularized by the 18th century British historian Edward Gibbon as a demarcating event for the fall of the Western Roman Empire and is sometimes used to mark their transition from antiquity to the Middle Ages. Odoacer, Italy and other barbarian kingdoms, many of them representing former Western Roman allies that had been granted lands in return for military assistance, would maintain a pretense of Roman continuity through the continued use of the old Roman administrative systems and nominal subservience to the Eastern Roman court. In the 6th century, Emperor Justinian I reimposed direct imperial rule on large parts of the former Western Roman Empire, including the prosperous regions of North Africa, the ancient Roman heartland of Italy and parts of Hispania. Political instability in the eastern heartlands, combined with foreign invasions and religious differences, made efforts to retain control of these territories difficult and they were gradually lost for good. Though the Eastern Empire retained territories in the south of Italy until the 11th century, the influence that the empire had over Western Europe had diminished significantly. The papal coronation of the Frankish king, Charlemagne, as Roman Emperor in 800 marked a new imperial line that would evolve into the Holy Roman Empire, which presented a revival of the imperial title in Western Europe but was in no meaningful sense an extension of Roman traditions or institutions. The Great Schism of 1054 between the churches of Rome and Constantinople further diminished any authority Theopora in Constantinople could hope to exert in the West. Background. As the Roman Republic expanded, it reached a point where the central government in Rome could not effectively rule distant provinces. Communications and transportation were especially problematic given the vast extent of the empire. News of invasion, revolt, natural disasters, or epidemic outbreak was carried by ship or mounted postal service, often requiring much time to reach Rome and forums orders to be returned and acted upon. Therefore provincial governors had de facto autonomy in the name of preceded by succeeded by Roman Empire, Eastern Roman Empire, Kingdom of Italy, Kingdom of Visigoths, Kingdom of Vandals, Kingdom of Franks, Kingdom of Suebi, Kingdom of the Burgundians, Kingdom of Romans, Kingdom of Moors, and Roman Salamania Morica. Sub-Roman Britain carried. Since the Western Roman Empire was not a distinct state separate from the Eastern Roman Empire, there was no particular official term that designated the Western provinces or the government, which was simply known at the time as the Roman Empire. Terms such as Imperium Romanum Occidentale and Hesperium Imperium were either never in official usage or invented by later medieval or modern historians long after the Western Roman court had fallen. In the ancient era, the Latin term often used was SPQR. Senatus Populus Romanus, Senate and People of Rome, Latin, used in documents, on flags and banners and carved / engraved on buildings. Carried whilst the deposition of Emperor Romulus Augustulus in 476 is the most commonly cited end date for the Western Roman Empire. The last Western Roman Emperor Julius Nepos was assassinated in 480. When the Titlean notion of a separate Western Empire were abolished. Another. The Roman Republic. Governors had several duties, including the command of armies, handling the taxes of the province, and serving as the province's chief judges. 7. Prior to the establishment of the empire, the territories of the Roman Republic had been divided in 43 BC among the members of the Second Triumvirate, Mark Antony Octavian and Marcus Aemilius Lepidus. Antony received provinces in the east, Achaea, Macedonia and Epirus, roughly modern Greece, Albania and the coast of Croatia, Bithynia, Pontus and Asia, roughly modern Turkey, Syria, Cyprus, and Cyrenaica. 8. These lands had previously been conquered by Alexander the Great, thus, much of the aristocracy was of Greek origin. The whole region, especially the major cities, had been largely assimilated into Greek culture, Greek often serving as the lingua franca. 9. The Roman Republic before the conquests of Octavian. Octavian obtained the Roman provinces of the West, Italia, modern Italy, Gaul, modern France, Gallia Belgica, parts of modern Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg, and Hispania, modern Spain and Portugal. 8. These lands also included Greek and Carthaginian colonies in the coastal areas, though Celtic tribes, such as Gauls and Celtiberians, were culturally dominant. Lepidus received the Minor province of Africa, roughly modern Tunisia. Octavian soon took Africa from Lepidus, while adding Sicilia, modern Sicily, to his holdings. 10. Upon the defeat of Mark Antony, a victorious Octavian controlled a united Roman Empire. The empire featured many distinct cultures, all experienced a gradual Romanization. 11. While the predominantly Greek culture of the East and the predominantly Latin culture of the West functioned effectively as an integrated whole, political and military developments would ultimately realign the empire along those cultural and linguistic lines. More often than not, Greek and Latin practices, and to some extent the suggested end date is their organization of the Italian peninsula and abolition of separate Western Roman administrative institutions under Emperor Justinian during the latter half of the 6th century. Carried the de jure last emperor, Julius Nepos, reigned for 5 years in exile from Salona / Spalatum in Dalmatia. 4, 5, 6. Languages themselves would be combined in fields such as history, for example, those by Cato the Elder, philosophy and rhetoric. 12, 13, 14, rebellions and political developments. Roman Empire in 117 CE at its greatest extent, at the time of Trajan's death. Vassal states. 15. Minor rebellions and uprisings were fairly common events throughout the empire. Conquered tribes or oppressed cities would revolt, and the legions would be detached to crush the rebellion. While this process was simple in peace time, it could be considerably more complicated in wartime. In a full-blown military campaign, the legions were far more numerous as, for example, those led by Vespasian in the First Jewish-Roman War. To ensure a commander's loyalty, a pragmatic emperor might hold some members of the general's family hostage. To this end, Nero effectively held Domitian and Quintus Petilius Cerealis, governor of Ostia, who were respectively the younger son and brother-in-law of Vespasian. Nero's rule was ended by a revolt of the Praetorian Guard, who had been bribed in the name of Galba. The Praetorian Guard, a figurative sword of Damocles, was often perceived as being of dubious loyalty, primarily due its role in court intrigues and in overthrowing several emperors, including Pertinax and Aurelian. 16, 17. Following their example, the legions at the borders increasingly participated in civil wars. For instance, legions stationed in Egypt and the eastern provinces would see significant participation in the civil war of 218 between Emperor Macrinus and Elagabalus. 18. As the empire expanded, two key frontiers revealed themselves. In the west, behind the rivers Rhine and Danube, Germanic tribes were an important enemy. Augustus, the first emperor, had tried to conquer them but had pulled back after the disastrous Battle of the Teutoburg Forest. 19. Whilst the Germanic tribes were formidable foes, the Parthian Empire in the east presented the greatest threat to the empire. The Parthians were too remote and powerful to be conquered, and there was a constant Parthian threat of invasion. The Parthians repelled several Roman invasions, and even after successful wars of conquest, such as those implemented by Trajan or Septimius Severus, the conquered territories were forsaken in attempts to ensure a lasting peace with the Parthians. The Parthian Empire would be succeeded by the Sasanian Empire, which continued hostilities with the Roman Empire. 20. Controlling the western border of Rome was reasonably easy because it was relatively close to Rome itself, and also because of the disunity among the Germans. However, controlling both frontiers simultaneously during wartime was difficult. If the emperor was near the border in the east, the chances were high that an ambitious general would rebel in the west and vice versa. This wartime opportunism plagued many ruling emperors and indeed paved the road to power for several future emperors. By the time of the crisis of the 3rd century, usurpation became a common method of succession. Philip the Arab, Trebonianus Gallus and Aemilianus were all usurping generals turned emperors whose rule would end with usurpation by another powerful general. 21, 22, 23. Crisis of the 3rd century. The Roman, Gallic and Palmyrene empires in 271 AD, with the assassination of the Emperor Alexander Severus on 18 March 235. The Roman Empire sank into a 50-year period of civil war, now known as the crisis of the 3rd century. The rise of the bellicose Sasanian Empire in place of Parthia posed a major threat to Rome in the east, as demonstrated by Shapai's capture of Emperor Valerian in 259. Valerian's eldest son and heir apparent, Gallienus, succeeded him and took up the fight on the eastern frontier. Gallienus' son Saturninus, and the Praetorian prefect Selvinus were residing in Colonia Agrippina, modern Cologne, to solidify the loyalty of local legions. Nevertheless, Marcus Cassianius Latinius Postumus, the local governor of the German provinces, rebelled. His assault on Colonia Agrippina resulted in the deaths of Saturninus and the prefect. In the confusion that followed, an independent state known in modern historiography as the Gallic Empire emerged. 24. Its capital was Augusta Trevorum, modern Trier, and it quickly expanded its control over the German and Gaulish provinces, all of Hispania and Britannia. It had its own senate, and a partial list of its consuls still survives. It maintained Roman religion, language, and culture, and was far more concerned with fighting the Germanic tribes, fending off Germanic incursions and restoring the security the Gallic provinces had enjoyed in the past, than in challenging the Roman central government. 25. However,